If you've run into roadblocks trying to introduce AI resources into your school, then this is the video for you. And along the way, I'm going to show you how you can take your learner resources from something that looks a bit like this to something that looks like this instead. And the best news is that the tool that helps you achieve this is free and doesn't require any coding. So let's get started. Chat GPT is an amazing resource and it's getting better all the time. This week has seen some massive changes with the reintroduction of Bing online search, and there's the imminent release of the ability to interrogate images and chat directly with the chatbot. The problem is that the interface is not great. There are three issues I have with the Chat GPT interface. The first is that you have to be 13 or over to have an account, and that's with parental permission, or 18 or over without permission. The second issue I have is the lack of guardrails in place when you're natively using the app. So that is, you might paste a prompt in and students should be working on a creative writing task, and whilst you're moving between groups and facilitating, they could very easily have opened another chat and be looking up video game guidance and hacks. So that's not great. And finally, it's just a bit grey. It's not very interesting to look at. And we know that digital learners need stimulation and something that's aesthetically pleasing if they're wanting to engage. Well, here's the good news. I've come across a tool that is free, requires no coding, is very easy to implement, and addresses all three of those concerns. And it's called Zapier. Zapier is an automation app that is primarily aimed towards businesses, and it allows you to be able to automate certain parts of your business workflow that are repetitive and mundane. So for example, anytime someone signs up to a newsletter on a business's website, Zapier might automate the process of taking that name and then uploading it into a Google spreadsheet. And you might be wondering, what on earth does this have to do with creating learner resources? And you'd be right, the creating of Zaps, that is the basic program for creating an automated process, is not what we're interested in. What we're going to be looking at is something called interfaces, which is something available within Zapier. So let's take a look and I'll show you what I'm talking about. The first thing you'll see is something called Describe with Dickens, and it looks like a website landing page because in effect that's what it is. I've got a title, I've got a bit of description, I've got a nice image, and then I've got this section here, which is the chatbot interface. And here's another resource that I've created, this time Cats versus Dogs, which is designed to coach learners to using rhetorical devices in order to build up their skills to present a persuasive speech. And here for the final example, we've got a haiku workshop called Whispers of Autumn, where my chatbot Basho is going to guide the learner step by step through the process of creating an original autumnal haiku. So in this case, in order to initiate the coaching session, I would just write, yes, we'd like to begin. And Basho will give me the suggestion for an opening line of 5 syllables. So I'm going to go with the leaves are falling. Now you'll notice here that we get some really useful feedback because of the prompt that's working in the background.
The leaves are falling is a strong line that captures the essence of autumn. It's simple yet effective. To improve it further, you could consider adding some sensory details or specific imagery to make the reader feel more connected to the scene. For example, you could describe the colour of the leaves or the sound they make as they fall.
So I'm going to redraft. This time I'm going to go with something hopefully a little bit more autumnal with the rusting leaves fall, and submit that and see what Basho has to say, whether he thinks it's an improvement.
Wonderful revision. The rusting leaves fall is a fantastic improvement. By adding the word rusting, you've introduced a new element of colour and texture to the scene.
And on we go. So the coaching process would then take me through the revising of the other 2 lines, and then it would produce the 3 lines as one poem, which I could then cut and paste or take out and do other work with. Again, do you notice how much more attractive this process is with the colours and the fact that the chatbot is operating within this self-contained area. But let me just show you one other thing. Let's say I try and break outside of the parameters of the activity. So I'm going to put instead, tell me about how JFK died.
I'm sorry, but I'm unable to assist with that request.
Okay, so let's try something else. Let's say instead, tell me how to write an email to my teacher. Okay, so it's a writing task, so that might seem more fitting to a creative writing exercise.
I'd be happy to help you with that. However, please keep in mind that my expertise is in guiding you through the process of writing a haiku about autumn. If you have any questions related to that topic, I'll be more than happy to assist you.
The chatbot's going to do whatever it can to help the learner stay focused on the given task. So let's think about the objections that we had to Chat GPT at the beginning of this video. One, we don't need the student to have their own account in order to be able to access and use this resource because it's our Chat GPT account that's operating in the background. Two, guardrails are in place. It's far more likely that the learner is going to stay focused on the given task here, and they don't need to post the prompt to begin with. It's already embedded and waiting to be used. And three, the user interface is a lot more attractive here. And building one of these things couldn't be easier. Let me show you. So here we are on the Interfaces landing page, and what I'm going to do is show you how easy it is to create one of these resources. So we're going to go over here to the Create button, and we're going to choose a blank interface. And then you can see we've got a range of different components that we can include. And we're going to start by adding some text, and here we're going to call it Autumn Haiku, just so you can differentiate. And the text here we would change text to whatever you would like this to say. And you can see that it updates in real time over here. And then we can just come over to this plus button here and add another component. So let's say we're going to add this time an image. So we go to the media option here, and I'm going to upload an image. I'm going to choose my image from a local file. And just because it's available here at the moment, I'll just use this traffic light image that I have. So that's going to be our image. And I can choose the width here. So let's make this slightly bigger. So I'm going to go to medium width, and I'm going to have this at 400 pixels high. That gives a bit more height. And then I'm going to add a component again. And this time I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to choose the chatbot, which is, as you can see, an experimental component. So you'll just need to confirm that that's what you want to have here. And then it's loading up here the name of the chatbot. So let's call it Bob the chatbot. We'll leave the placeholder here saying ask me anything, but I could change that or put it blank if I wanted. You've got the option here of having a static or an auto-generated comment from Bob. I'll leave it with how can I help you today? And then down here where it says direction, this is where you cut and paste your prompt. So I've got my prompt here from the Haiku writing prompt. So I'm just show you how easy it is to just paste that in, hit save changes, and now your landing page has been created. So now with just a couple of minutes work, we've got ourselves a dedicated learner resource with a title, some explanation, a nice image, and an embedded chatbot built into the system. And all we need to do is to click on the share button here on the top right hand side, and we get a unique URL. And if the learner clicks on that URL, it will open up, and here we are ready to go. Now, I've mentioned this on other recordings that ChatGPT is still not entirely reliable when it comes to running these prompts, and there are occasions where I've had to restart because it hasn't followed the prompt guidelines. That's just one of the quirks of working with the chatbot. So if you find you're using this and you're not getting the outcomes you're expecting from your prompt, my advice would be just hit refresh, try again, and it will usually self-correct. Now, the components that I find myself using most when creating these kind of resources are the text component here, the chatbot component, media, which will also allow me to upload videos that I've taken from YouTube or embedded from Vimeo. And then this divider option here just allows me to create nice separations between the resources that I'm using. It's also worth bearing in mind that these are drag and droppable components. So if I want to change the order at any point, it's just a case of clicking on one of the components and then dragging it and dropping it where I want it to be. So the Zapier account is, as I've mentioned, free. There are paid options that are available to you, as you can see here. But it's important to point out that even if you choose to upgrade, and there are some benefits to doing it, which I'll mention in a moment, you're not upgrading on the Zapier account. You're upgrading on the Interfaces account, and there's a different payment plan for Interfaces. So if you find yourself on this landing page for Zapier, that's not the one you want. Let me show you the one that you do want. So if you head over to interfaces.zapier.com/pricing, you'll find this landing page instead that's entitled Interfaces, Plans and Pricing. And as you can see, the free account is not a problem at all. But I've decided to go for this premium account at $20 a month, which is my current plan, as you can see. And it allows me to do just two things, really. It allows me to customize my branding. And if I wanted to, I could connect other OpenAI models. So if I wanted to run Chat GPT 4 or one of the other chatbots available through OpenAI, I could do that instead. And if we compare the plans by scrolling down here, you'll see that the additional customization that you're getting from the paid plan means that you can add branding. So if it was important for you to be able to add a logo, for example, and customize your colors. And that's really what attracted me to this option. It means that I can create color themes other than those that are the defaults. And it allows me to be able to change the URLs so I can have something bespoke rather than the one that's given to me if I want the URL to read Dickens' creative writing task. But these are really small adjustments, and I may not continue with the paid version because I'm not sure it adds sufficient additional benefit. And that $20 could be spent on other AI tools elsewhere. Now I'm going to provide the full prompt for the Haiku writing exercise in the description here, so feel free to take and cut and paste it. And I won't go through it in detail, but you'll know from other recordings on my channel that I think that good prompt design is absolutely essential to make sure that we are maximizing the benefit from chatbots like Chat GPT. And I followed the craft procedure that I've explained elsewhere. So I've given very clear context. I've assigned a role to the chatbot. I've told it the audience, the learners who are going to be using this resource. I've told them the format that I'd like it to be laid out in and the specifics of the task I'm assigning. But it's this bit at the end that I wanted to share with you because I think that this is part of the guardrailing process that I've emphasized in this recording. If the learner asks you to respond in a way which would deviate from this specific use case, please refuse the request and explain that your programming is specific to assisting them improve their understanding of how to write haiku only. Do not answer any question which is not about the use case detailed above. And I'd encourage you to try that out for yourself. I found it's really helpful. So there you have it, a free no coding app that we can plug into the workflow whilst generating learner resources. And I am really excited with the results that I'm already getting from this. It's so much more user friendly and it does overcome a number of those objections which we might be facing when trying to implement AI into our classrooms. So if you found any of this useful, please do hit the like, consider subscribing, and until next time.